Hello YouTubers and fellow hams. I have a new toy to play with here. Thanks very much to an anonymous, I guess I'll say anonymous, he didn't say whether or not I could share his name, but a donation to the channel. I have here a brand new SDR, the HF Discovery from Airspy. Airspy HF Plus Discovery. This is a newer model of their HF Plus, and marketing has had a field day with this on the website, but they have quite a list of features here. It has two ranges of radio coverage. It'll cover from 0.5 kilohertz to 31 megahertz, and I've tested that. It actually goes a little bit lower, and from 60 to 260 megahertz for VHF. So omitted is the 6 meter band of note if you're you're a ham. And then they talk about a few other things here. Negative 141 dBm MDS, typical at 500 hertz bandwidth. 110 dB blocking dynamic range in HF. 95 dB blocking dynamic range in VHF. High performance pre-selector for HF. High performance pre-selector for VHF, and a separate high performance pre-selector for FM. And up to 660 kilohertz alias and image-free output for the 768 kilohertz of bandwidth. Yeah, what does all that mean? Well, in practical use, I can tell you it's a very hot receiver. It's pulling out weak signals that I have a slightly harder time hearing on the 7300. So it's just playing with it. It's doing about as well as the 7300, if not better. Let's get a little more light on the subject and let's show you what's in the box. Okay, very colorful. I like the graphic art on here. It's a very small box. Well, it's a very small unit. Inside we get a card with a QR code that takes you to their website. The unit itself, that's it. It's tiny. Look at that. Tiny. With a single USB, micro USB connector on one side. On the other side, we have the SMA, female SMA. And there's two little bitty holes here. And one is a power LED. It comes on as soon as you plug in the USB. The other one comes on when the device is activated by software and in use. Other than that, it's just a little box. The other thing that comes in here is, of course, they give you a USB cable. And that's the contents of the box. Now, I'm going to show you how you get this thing running under Linux. I did have previously an SDR Play, which is just a great SDR. I love that unit. The only problem I had with it was every time there was a new version of Linux, it was a pain in the butt to get it working. The scripts that I wrote a long time back needed to be adapted for new versions of WX widgets, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't, and it was a pain. I ended up selling it. I just got tired of dealing with it, and I'm not going to run Windows. I'm not going to go out and buy a Mac. I'm going to stick with Linux. It works for me for everything else. The only thing I was missing was having a good, reliable SDR, and the Airspy is touted as being well supported under Linux, and we will look at that in depth. As I said, it comes with a female SMA. These little SMA to BNC adapters are available all over eBay and Amazon. Just search for BNC to SMA to find them. I end up putting these on here because I much prefer to work with BNC connectors for a lot of stuff. It's just quicker and easier. So that's the unit. Okay, let's go to the computer and we'll talk about how we set this guy up to work under Linux. So the first thing that I did is obviously I went to the Airspy website and clicked on the download link up here. And that brings us to their software download page. Now, of course, as usual, the primary software is going to be Windows. But we're going to scroll on down, and there's lots of neat stuff for the Windows users. Spy Server. this is interesting. Spy server. It is a server component that you would put on, say, like a Raspberry Pi that's connected to the Airspy, and it would then allow that Airspy to be used by multiple computers on the network or even over the internet to stream radio stations from it, just like the web SDRs. This is their own server. I glanced at this and dug into it a little bit. It's primarily only utilized by SDR Sharp on Windows, although there is a plugin for GQRX under Linux to allow you to connect to spy servers, either on your own network or around the world. It's not as clean and neat. In SDR Sharp, when you there's a section that you can click on that will go and browse a list of existing SDR or spy servers on the internet and let you connect to them. Built right into SDR Sharp under Windows. With the GQRX version that will connect to spy servers, you have to go to a list of spy servers manually, look up the serial numbers of the different devices, their IP addresses, and put all that information in manually. So it can be done, but it's a lot more work. I might look at spy server in the future after I investigate it some more. But what I was looking for was drivers for Linux, and I didn't find them here. Yeah, so I had to do a lot more digging and research, but what I found was 2 projects on GitHub. Now, I put both of these links into the description below. This is the first one. It's GitHub Airspy HF. And this is an API plugin for the Airspy HF Plus, as it says right here. It's pretty straightforward to get it. If you scroll down here, there's how to build on Windows. And down here, how to build the host software on Linux. And this is really, really straightforward. He gives you all the terminal commands here, and you just copy these basically one at a time and paste them into a terminal. You want to start out in a working directory that you create, whatever you want to call it. And then just follow these steps through to this make install. You can do the load config step here. It didn't seem to matter either way, but just follow these steps through and it should build and install for you. Now, you're going to need something called Build Essential, which will be the build tools for Linux to allow you to compile the source code. And compiling source code scares a lot of people, but just follow these steps and it will work. I've done it on Ubuntu 20.04. It should work on any of the recent versions of Linux. But you will need to install, well, actually, I guess they do that right here for you. Install Build Essential, CMake, Live USB, Package Config. So this first step installs the requirements for the rest of this to work. So yeah, just follow these steps through and it will work for you. You're going to need Sdr Software on your Linux machine. And I like to use Synaptic to install my stuff, but you can also use apt and do an apt-get install. But I like to use Synaptic. It's my favorite because we can go up here and just hit search. And one SDR receiver you're going to need for sure is GQRX. If we search for that, we should find it right away. GQRX SDR. I've already installed it. That's why it's green. But you'll want to check that and hit mark for installation to mark that one. The other one is Cubic SDR. And again, that's in the repos, and I've installed it here already. So you'll definitely need to install those 2 software programs, software radio programs, using Synaptic or apt-get space install and the name Cubic SDR, or you need the precise name for GQRX, and it was GQRX-SDR. So get those installed. Follow these steps on the Airspy HF GitHub. I did these and it didn't work. There's another project that we need to install. I think that this API will be needed if you're going to play with Spy Server, because that's going to want to talk to the the device through the API, I believe. But if we go to another link here, github.com/pothosware/soapy AirspyHF wiki, we will find a SoapySDR plugin for the AirspyHF. Now, SoapySDR is a general purpose software-defined radio application programming interface. It's kind of a layer that goes between the hardware and the software radio that you're going to use, like GQRX. It's a great idea. SoapySDR, if a plugin exists for your hardware for SoapySDR, then all the software that works with SDR should work, because they all go through Soapy to get to the hardware. And again, this one is very easy to install. He has the description right here. These are the steps. If you go down here to building Soapy AirspyHF, just follow these steps. Git clone. Oh, you might need to install Git, but you could do that again through Synaptic if you don't have it. If Git says application not found when you run this in your terminal, then you'll have to install Git. But anyway, just follow these steps. Git clone pulls down this repository. CD to the directory that was created. Make dir build. CD build. cmake space ... make, and then sudo space make space install. And I had no problems. These went right through and built without any errors. And once that was built, it worked. So let's say that we've done this. We've installed these two drivers, and we're ready to connect to it. So we'd go and we'd run like GQRX here. It comes up with a default input driver, which is nothing really, just a demo mode. But if we click on this little circuit board here that says Configure I/O Devices, and we have our Airspy plugged in, and I've installed those other two drivers. If I come up here to default, we should see Airspy and Airspy HFS Plus, or HF Plus. Now, you'll notice on this Airspy HF Plus, it lists a number. That's the serial number of the unit as recognized by USB. So that tells me it recognized the hardware. And all I need to do is select that, Airspy HFS Plus. The rest of the fields fill in with their defaults, and that's all fine. We just hit OK. And then we hit the little play button, and there we go. Switch my antenna to it, and as you can see, it's working.
Has a cable that connects to the back of the head where the cable to the radio connects, which goes into the remote rig box. On the other, like I said, you just call them up and tell your insurance agent, hey, I'm not driving, especially during the sequestering.
So there you go. It's working. I kind of like GQRX. A lot of people like Cubic. I used to like Cubic, but I like the GQRX interface now that I'm used to it. I like the fact that I can just come up here and I can move the tuning slider around. This little banded area here, that's my active receiver. This line represents the center frequency the hardware is set to presently. And then the waterfall shows us all of our signals. And you can quickly drag this to a signal. I can fine tune it with the mouse scroll wheel. I can just click on the mouse scroll wheel or scroll it to move up and down. If I move over to the edge of the filter, which is this light gray area, you'll see that angular arrow appear. I can now widen and narrow the filter. It shows me what I'm set to, 2.8 kilohertz. And I can just grab that and widen it out. And while I'm widening it out, over here it's showing me on filter width what I'm setting the filter to. So there it's 4.7K, 8K, 3.4. So you can easily adjust the filter. You can move your tuner around to the different signals you're seeing. If I come down here to the frequency display and the pointer turns into a hand, if I use the scroll wheel here, I'll change the zoom. So we'll zoom all the way out to the full 768 kilohertz of spectrum that it's able to receive at once. So we can see the entire 40 meter band from here to there easily, plus what's out beside it. Like there's an AM signal over here. So if we take our slider and drag it over there, and we'll switch to AM, turn the volume back up.
Sure, we often use the infinitive after some
And that's China. That's Radio China International and their Chinese language educational program. If I zoom in, again using the scroll wheel while the pointer turns into a hand here on the frequencies, I can see that my filter is just about as wide as their station. You can see the edges of their energy here. And we can hear the filter. I'll narrow it down.
Sure. Robin Hood stole money from rich people.
로빈후드는 법을 어기는 사람이었고 부자들의 돈을 훔쳤군요.
Now, as we'll see in the other segments where I'm just tuning around on the band, there's all kinds of nice things that we can do with the filtering and the different modes to pull out stations that are right next to each other or weak stations. It's actually a pretty nice program. And we can easily change our frequency up here. I could jump to another band just by, if I want to go to 20 meters, I'll just move that to a 1, 14. Let's go to 14,300 lower sideband, and let's see if we can hear the Marine Service Net. No, I guess not. Nope, they're not talking. But anyway, really quick and easy to work with this program. I really enjoy it. Let's go look at some shortwave listening I was doing the other night.
性感染没有出现症状，但近期感染的问题在于检测后期是检测理所当然的
In Truman's case, he was faced with being in office as World War II was ending. He made the decision to drop atomic bombs on Japan.
السودان، ما هي أبرز هذه التحديات وكيف يمكن تجاوزها؟
والله واحدة من المهددات الرئيسية هي الزيادة في الأعداد وزيادة في الإصابات، ودي صراحة يعني الناس عشان تتكلم بوضوح برضو أكتر، الدور الأساسي فيها بيجي على الوعي المجتمعي والمجتمع. نحن ما زلنا بنناشد وما زلنا يعني بنطالب بإنه الناس تلتزم بضوابط وموجهات وزارة الصحة للحد من انتشار أكثر من الحالات. نحن بنتكلم عن سعة سريرية لنا لمراكز العزل 1106 سرير بأعداد مختلفة للعناية المكثفة، بأعداد بتفوق 120 سرير عناية مكثفة بأجهزة تنفس صناعي، وأعداد ممكن تحصل 100 لسرير عناية وسيطة. لكن سرعة الانتشار
producing more than 20 million saplings a year in the provinces. Today, he presented a talk to build a common provincial tree nursery on a trial basis into model and standard of the tree nurseries to be built in provinces and solve the all problems arising with the
为健康加油，每天都要喝每日活精哦。
Estimado de 570 de magnitud fueron cometidos por grupos neofascistas en Cuba.
13. We begin with verses 1 through 4. My brother.
La siguiente crónica de Alberto Fraga acerca de aquel 8 de mayo de 1994, la música fue extendida en Santiago de Cuba. Miguel Matamoros vino al mundo con las gotas de la droga en son mensual. Pero ya se arreglaban sus talentos a cortos de clases universales, tomas o lágrimas.
So that's the Airspy SDR. I really like this little unit. I'm going to use the heck out of it. I might have mentioned it, but having this plugged into the computer and hooked to my antenna, it's so quick and convenient and easy to browse around the shortwave spectrum. The performance is excellent. This has got a big thumbs up from me. This is a great little machine. I'm really enjoying it, and I'll continue to use it for the time being. Hopefully they continue with their Linux support in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.